So hello and welcome to Journo Links, a podcast that tells the stories of people who tell stories. My name is Conor O'Brien and I'm a journalist. I run Courageous Nerd, an entertainment and pop culture platform where I do interviews with a wide variety of actors, writers and filmmakers. Joining me today is the lovely Rueben Rosso-Powell. Rueben, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Conor. How have you been?
I've been doing really well, thank you. Yeah, so obviously you're with PA Media, and obviously we'll get into that and your role there as this conversation goes along. But I suppose before we kind of like start fully, could you maybe give anyone, watching or listening, kind of like a snapshot into like Ruben and kind of like what you're all about and like your career, I guess.
Okay, so I'm 22. I only been in this industry for a year. I work at PA, like Conor said, as a sports apprentice, sports journalist apprentice rather. And I did the PA training course with Conor as well. That started last September, run into like the end of January sort of thing. And so between January to now, I've just been working remotely in the London area, covering London sports, primarily Premier League football. I've had invaluable experience in the last 5 months working with some of the best, learning from them, honing in my skills. I feel like I've gone strength to strength recently. So everything's going well, and I'm glad that you're sort of prospering in your own thing as well.
Absolutely, and obviously, as you mentioned, we met on the PA training course, which is connected to PA Media, only it's a little bit separate from it. And obviously, I mean, as a group, I think we're all fairly connected, but in a sense, there was a bit of a divide where there was those of us who weren't affiliated with anybody. We were just kind of independent people, which is the group I was in. And then obviously on your side of it, you're part of the group that were attached to a publication and kind of came in obviously as someone from PA. So I suppose obviously you having a different entry route into the course, like maybe talk about how you came to be on that course at PA training with all of us all those months ago.
Yeah, so my job hunt really started last January, so 2022, January that year. And I was applying to so many jobs, and I didn't do a journalism degree at university. I did a history degree, and that didn't really tick the boxes for like an NCTJ or whatever. So when I found myself applying for jobs, I actually had a bit of a struggle getting onto anything in the first like few months, because you just needed that experience. So the route I was looking at was just to either pay for that NCTJ course or try and get on some sort of apprenticeship scheme. And I saw the PA apprenticeship scheme, and it just looked exactly like what I was about, what I wanted. Sport, and also they'll pay for you to do the course. They'll train you. They don't need anyone with like unbelievable experience. And so I was fortunate enough to get on the course, and no, it went really well. I feel like I really enjoyed it. I met you, Conor, and yeah, the course is so important, and I can kind of see whilst coming from the other side now why so many places require you to do the NCTJ. I feel like, I don't know about you, Conor, but you learn so much, especially about writing, how to construct, build so much confidence with it. So that went really well, and it's definitely helped me in my steps since. But that's how I got into the job. And so just now, as like an apprentice journalist, I'm not full time, but I've since built like that trust with my job and my bosses, that I felt like I've had more of an independent responsibility, which is even more important for me to develop, and hopefully get a full-time job at PA soon.
Absolutely. Had you done any shifts at PA before the course started? Because I know obviously a few weeks in, everyone was kind of sent off to either like do work experience somewhere or like there's other things going on. So like, had you done like a shift before that experience?
It's a good question. Harry and Jamel, I knew, actually went to the Paddington office for like I think a couple of weeks. They were doing Monday to Friday shifts there. But me, it's slightly different because my desk isn't in Paddington. The sports desk is actually based up in Yorkshire.
Right. Okay.
But still managed to get up there for 5 days at the end of August, just to meet all the subs who I'm going to be talking to on a day-to-day basis, and who I talk to now. So that was a good experience, getting like a few hour train up there, working in this little remote area, this massive office, meeting everyone for the first time. In a sense, it was a big experience, and it was a big step for me as well, because I'd just been given this fantastic opportunity, and now I'm there with some like really good and experienced journalists. So a great experience at the start of the course, and what was really necessary as well to build them relationships early on.
Mm. And like, obviously, the course we were on wasn't like wasn't a sports journalism course, but we were able to relate what we were learning to what you would need. Like, we were able to make connections in that sense.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. And even though it wasn't tailored to sport, the whole thing, there was certain skills you learn in some of the modules which is applicable to any form of journalism. Just EJ, that's what it's called, EJ.
Yeah.
Just the simple things of how to write a top line, how many words you usually need for a top line, how to structure, how to use quotes, different types of quotes. We'd do like full seminars. Ali would do full seminars on the 4 or 5 different types of quotes you can use. And like to the average reader who doesn't consider like what it takes to put, how much effort it takes to put into an article, that might not be nothing to them. But you kind of got to be a perfectionist in a sense. And I definitely then use that into what I do now. But I feel like the most important thing at PA training, what helped me the most, was the fact that Ali was there. Ali was fantastic, and the staff for all of them were great.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah,
especially for someone like me, Harry, and Jamal, having a former news editor there, teaching you on a day-to-day and like sort of mentoring you. That was amazing, because then I went into the job full-time at the end of January, knowing exactly what the standards were and what was expected of me. So I found that was really, really helpful. But what did you think of that? Have you been able to use the skills from the course into what you're doing now?
Well, yeah, definitely, and even like in ways you wouldn't expect, or you might think going in, well, I've got a good standard of English, I'm sure this will be fine. But I mean, even like someone like me, who again I thought I was a pretty competent writer, even I was like torn to shreds at the very beginning. Like, this isn't how you do it. Do it this way. And now it's kind of ingrained in you when you're like given something like a press release or approaching a story. It's just the way to do it. It's like second nature. You don't really, there's no other way that you can really think about it. It's all like, this is the kind of the process you follow, I guess, so to speak. And that's something that the course gave us.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. What you're saying is bang on. At the start of the course, I've been writing for various websites for like maybe 6 or 7 years, like consistently. So I thought I had like a really good understanding of how to write an article and whatnot. But as soon as you get in there with like the former professionals or like the professionals, they'll just tell you that it's just not at the standard yet. I don't know who you had as your tutor, but Ali would just like write over my paper like a pen, and you just got to take it as like constructive criticism and you build from it. But no, 100%, I hear what you're saying. In that 4 months, you're just on a different level now, and something like a press release is just, you don't really need to think about it too much.
Yeah. I suppose, like, if we could go back in time to last September and like talk to Reuben on day 1 of the course, like, what would you, and if we were to ask him, what do you want to get out of doing this? What do you think he would have said?
Well, it's a good question. I think in those 4 months, I knew, as someone who had employers above me who was monitoring what I was doing in the course, I had to impress. And I also had to learn at a rate where I was going to come into the job full time, where I wasn't playing any catch up and they didn't have to babysit me and teach me stuff I should have learned already. So I guess there was like a little bit of that pressure on my shoulder. But I just wanted to learn and just absorb as quickly as I can, so I can just take the next steps as a qualified journalist, I guess. And also just to build those contacts as well. That's not something I would have initially thought, but halfway through, that definitely dawned on me that there's some great people in the class. Doesn't matter if you're an apprentice or not.
Yeah.
So many people are like seriously talented in there, and doesn't matter if, I said this to a lot of people in the course as well, it doesn't matter if you're an apprentice, you'll get to your end goal at the end. I just think that's my biggest message, is just to be persistent. I don't know, like some people could be in like fantastic positions who've just paid for the course and didn't have a guaranteed job in 5-6 years time. Also, this industry, you've got to kind of make your own luck in a sense. You've got to be lucky, but you've got to make your own luck through being persistent.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that was kind of just what I thought. That was like the messages and like what I gained from at the start of the course, rather what I wanted.
And I think to your point as well, that we were really lucky in that it was a really lovely group of people. Like there's not one person I can think of and say, oh, like they were the one that we all hated. Like no, like everyone was really nice. It was really like chilled group, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's what I quite liked about it as well. There was no competitive aspect, and at the end of the day, like everyone kind of wants jobs, and some people on that course, no doubt, would have been applying to the same jobs, but no, everyone was incredibly encouraging of each other, which was like a really nice atmosphere, and how it should be as well. Like the course is difficult enough, like to anyone who wants to go on it. It's like, don't think it's going to be a DOS and you're just going to like cruise,
Yeah,
degree, get your qualification, and just find the job straight away. It's like it's some really hard hours you've got to put into that. You've got to really want it.
yeah.
I like the fact that everyone was encouraging, just like really helped, because yeah, no, sometimes you do have some like hard moments on that course, 100%.
And like, obviously, like I won't name names, but there were people who seemed like annoyingly they could just pick things up like the drop of a hat. I mean, obviously, I'm sure they put in a lot of work, but they kind of were like, oh, like kind of like doing things almost effortlessly and then playing it off like, oh, that's no big deal. And like to some people, I was really like frustrating. I think a little bit. It's like like shorthand or writing in a certain way, and it's like people are getting it so quickly, and like to some people it was really difficult. But I think by the end everyone was kind of balanced out. We all kind of caught up in different ways, and which I guess is kind of the point that people better at different things starting out, and then you kind of get better as time goes along. And I'm sure even someone who might have had a lot of experience going in might have new things to take away from it after we finished.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. Like there was lots of different ages in the course as well.
Yeah,
So naturally there was going to be people who are at different levels on certain things, and yeah, no, I was definitely one person who naturally struggled with a lot of the content at the start, but just through sheer hard work and that want, I just kind of forced myself into someone who was competent enough at shorthand and get over the media law and stuff like that. But nah, like everyone struggled with their own little things, but
yeah,
nice that everyone was supportive and everyone was kind of mindful of each other and yeah, willing to help as well. It was a good dynamic, and something which like that team playing element in that course is actually something what you really need in the industry as well. And I feel like what I really like about PA, you can tell me in a minute what it's like for you, but anyway, PA, you don't really feel like you're on your own, because although you're going to jobs on your own and whatnot, you're still having to communicate with the desk. I feel so happy to like talk to people who I've worked with at PA and ask them for their advice and stuff. I deal with some colleagues with some like seasoned veteran journalists, so it'd be rude not to use that. And to be fair, they're such wide heads, they've got such like a vast experience and stuff, they're happy to help you and give you that support as well. And I felt like that was what I saw in the course anyway, so I had no doubt leaving that everyone, if they really wanted to, could push on and do good things.
Yeah, for sure. And again, kind of to your point of like being around seasoned people, and I can't imagine it's not intentional, but where I'm sat at work, it's kind of like a big table with 6 seats. So it's like 3 seats facing each other, and sitting across from me are like an editor, a guy who's been there almost 20 years, and like a guy who just really knows what he's talking about. He's been there a couple of years. And obviously, I'm sure it's no coincidence that three very skilled people are in like within my reach. If I have a question, they're right there to answer it. And yeah, no, I mean, and I think that's what you need as well, especially when you're going in. The last thing you need is to kind of be left by yourself. It's a lot of questions at the start. Even like things that are specific to that company. Maybe some software or a style. Anything like that. It's always helpful to have people who know what they're doing nearby.
Oh, without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt. I don't know if it happened to you, but when I first fully started after the course at the end of January, there's a duty editor at PA called Simon, and he kind of really took me under his wing. And he would every day for the first few weeks, he'd get me doing all sorts of different types of content, whether it's like a 6-part write up or a full on story, exclusive or interview or whatever. But it doesn't matter what it is, he would take it and break it down and tell me what I need to improve on, remind me on the style. And even to this day, sometimes, like more times than not now, I'm at a level where I don't get scrutinized too much. But if I make a mistake, he'll let me know about it, and they all will as well. But that sort of tough love makes it so much sweeter when you get it right. And I feel like, yeah, always having people at a company like that who kind of talk you through it and don't leave you to your own devices, that is so helpful. You definitely need to pay attention to that. But yeah, that's when I've definitely learned some of my most key lessons. But yeah.
For sure, yeah, and obviously in terms of your job itself, you obviously mentioned it's sports journalism, and I know very well from having spent months with you on the course. You're a big Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm a North London rival. In the London rival, I'm Arsenal. Much like your colleague Harry, who was also on the course. But yeah, I suppose like in terms of the job itself, like would you say having an interest in sports is like a fundamental thing, or could someone apply themselves in sports journalism but not be a huge sports fan, or do you think that's a really key component?
I think in this job you need to have a passion in whatever field it is in. Well, it defeats the point, and you sometimes work some long hours going to a stadium at 8 o'clock for it says an 8 o'clock kickoff. You got to get there at 6. You wait kickoff at 8. The game's 2 hours long. It finishes at 10. Then you got to wait an hour for them to come down. You can get home at 1 o'clock, and
right, yeah,
the sport that doesn't seem arduous. That just becomes second nature and fun because you enjoy it. But if you don't, I think over time you'd end up just giving half effort. And I definitely think you're going to just learn and develop so much quicker if you enjoy the subject, because you're just going to sponge information far more, just like in any other field, but particularly in this, you need to have the passion as well, because you need to have the base understanding of the sport. If you have research all the time, yeah. But I do understand that to get into this industry, there's sometimes jobs you need to do in journalism which you might not particularly want to kind of gateway you to where you need to be. But no doubt, if you want to enjoy it and you want to flourish early, I feel like you need to have a good understanding of at least the one sport or two. And football is a must. That's probably about 80% of our content, football.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you remember what I'm about to say, because there's something I remember from the course. One of the trainers had a story of where they started off on a desk they weren't really comfortable with, but then swapped with somebody else, and it kind of worked out for both of them because they both ended up somewhere where they knew more about it. I can't remember who it was who said it, but that happened to somebody where at first they were like, "Oh, this isn't really for me," and then someone else said, "Actually, what I'm doing isn't really for me either," and they swapped over and were much happier where each other ended up. It might have been actually Reuben who did the sports journalism. I think it might have been him. I think he might have been on maybe like hard news, and then he swapped with whoever was doing sports, and they were happier on those opposite desks.
Yeah, there you go, and he seems like he's done very well for himself. So yeah, no, it definitely pays to be doing something you have a base interest in at the very minimum. And for me anyway, that worked a treat, because that's all I ever really wanted to do was sports journalism as a young 12-year-old. I wasn't really interested in any other form of journalism, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I was just fortunate to get onto that apprenticeship, and no, I feel like it best suits me.
Yeah, in terms of the apprenticeship itself, and obviously Harry and Jamel, also from PA, who are on the course with us. So, and I understand that. So, did you meet them a bit before the course started, or because you seem to be very familiar with each other? I remember at the beginning, did you know each other long, before we all met on that first day?
Yeah. So what? Not well, a little bit. There was a date in August where all the apprentices from Sky and PA, so it was Amrit, Josh, and the two you just named from PA, had to come in for a couple of assessments and whatnot. So I'd met them briefly there, but no, I feel like as soon as the course started, I don't know if it's just human instinct, but you kind of just flock to people you kind of got the most in common with, because you still got same superiors, and still got similar bosses to impress and want to. We just got that natural bond, I guess. So me and Harry definitely helped each other and definitely pushed each other as well. But no, I didn't know them too well before, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I remember having a conversation with Harry, and maybe we'll get into this if he comes on here at some point, where he didn't actually know about the fast track element of the course. So he got a bit of a surprise when all the rest of us turned up on the first day, because I think he thought it would just be like the 5 or 6 of you, and then like another 20 of us turned up, and he's like, well, what's going on? But
Yeah, well, no, I actually, I don't know if I 100% thought that. I knew there was going to be like a fair amount of people doing it, but maybe I did think I was definitely blown away by the volume of people who were there. I thought maybe it could be like 10 people.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of people, and it was like, I don't know about you, but it felt like I was back at school again, to be honest.
A little bit, yeah.
I quite liked it. I quite
Yeah.
liked it. Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, it's so full on. You meet the same people every single day, Monday to Friday, for like 4 months. You do build like some good like relationships when you're there. I don't know people you're still talking to, but a couple people like build like good bonds to, and then you have good conversation, meet good people. Like I said earlier, build those contacts for the future. So no, I did like that.
No, I mean, even like, you know, for me on the first day, I think I was one of the last to arrive, because obviously if you can visualize it, I walked out the lift, went around that corner, and there's about 20 of you in that little hallway. And I was like, whoa, man. I mean, I knew there was like you said, a fair few amount of people, but being one of the last to arrive and just seeing all of you there, and now, you know, obviously getting to know all of you individually as the course went along, but even now as well, like, you know, if nothing else, we all got to, you know, meet 25-ish other people in this industry. That's 25 connections. That's a valuable thing. And even if not everybody is in like a position yet where they'd want to be, that could be like fruitful down the line for someone. Or, you know, I did the course with them, and, you know, that's going to help me with something now, who knows what. But yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate, 100%.
Yeah, and just to kind of circle back to something you mentioned as well. So was there a bit of different type of pressure for you, knowing that PA were kind of watching what you were doing on the course? Obviously, most of us just kind of had to worry about how we were doing as individuals. But I know I didn't really think about that until you mentioned it a few minutes ago, that you've kind of had this like third party watching what you were doing. Like, was that something that was on your mind in the moment, or were you able to kind of like push it to back of your head and not really think about it?
Yeah, well, no, it's a great question, because that, well, for me anyway, I know I'm a person who definitely sets like harsher expectations on myself, but no, I definitely feel like that was what was going on, and they were like monitoring, because especially with certain things like shorthand, I was quite slow at the start. I was and so yeah, I'd just get kind of like gentle reminders, and you know, as an apprentice as well, there's no guarantee you can be here at the end of your apprenticeship, so you get off to a good start. But now, since I've been here and I've like kind of know everyone since, I don't know if it was as big of a deal, but they definitely got kind of like one eye on you as like the only apprentice on sport, kind of monitoring your progress. Of course, they're investing in you as well, so they don't want you taking the mick or whatever. But yeah, no, that definitely was something that what I felt anyway.
Yeah, and like even in terms of shorthand as well, just kind of like shout out to Kate, who I think got a lot of us over the finish line when we needed her to. Really, that she was kind of able to help us get that last step, just to get a pass. I think, and at any speed, you know, she was definitely I think someone that I remember being really great what she did on the course.
100%, and if anyone who's listening to this is doing the PA course or can understand this conversation, like Kate, she's a bit of a ruthless teacher, with shorthand particularly, and I feel like at the start it was a bit frustrating, because like definitely she doesn't like drop the intensity of the whole class to suit like a couple of like people who are struggling.
No.
But it kind of means that tough love, you've kind of got to quickly progress and get to speed with it, and with shorthand for me anyway, that was the best way to do it, was just persistence and just grinding. Really, it's difficult, but definitely encouraging with it, and afterwards I can appreciate her a lot more, for sure. But yeah, shorthand's a bit tricky. I don't know if you've been using it much.
Well, a little bit. I mean, I've kind of been practicing a bit just so I don't completely lose it, because I've definitely been in like an experience before where I've learned like a foreign language but never needed to use it, and then if I try to think about, oh, what's the word for, you know, that word in that language, I can't think of it. It just goes if you don't need it, and shorthand is no different. If you don't kind of keep up with it a little bit, I think it all just kind of comes out of your head. So but I mean, I'm actually, I think, a fairly interesting, or, you know, kind of unusual example with the shorthand, because I was commuting from Essex, you know, and so unfortunately for me, by the time I got home, of an evening, it was quite late, and I wasn't always that motivated to practice shorthand. So, you know, I kind of like fell a bit behind, and I very much needed towards the end to kind of rapidly get up to where I needed to, just because, you know, and to your point about Kate kind of not changing the pace for people, like everyone was at the same playing field. I just had to meet everyone at the field they were at.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I felt that as well, and I feel like you and I become very familiar with each other because we were just kind of like working together sometimes, and at the end when she did kind of like separate some people, but no, it is definitely difficult shorthand 100%, and some people 100% pick it up more naturally than others, but it doesn't. No, anyone can pass it. It just takes a lot of work. How much do you want it? Basically.
Absolutely. I suppose, you know, just to kind of close off, and I suppose it's like a fairly related question, but, you know, advice to anyone maybe either considering journalism or considering the PA training course, like what would you tell those people? I suppose whichever one you want to go with first. Yeah.
Well, there are separate things, and if you want to get into journalism, well, it is stereotyped as a very notoriously difficult industry to break into, especially at like a semi-decent level. And as a result of that, you've got to definitely want it. Like that's one question you've got to ask yourself, because if you don't want it, you're not going to put in the hard work which is relevant to get it, because you need to be really persistent. Do a lot of that unpaid work, which can kind of get your name out there, build those contacts over years. I feel like it's quite difficult to get into it if you're whimming it or putting it on like a whim.
Yeah,
definitely persistence and that want, and just getting your name out there by like building those contacts. You don't know when you could ever like utilize contacts is incredibly important, because you need a lot of luck as well. But like I said earlier, I feel like you definitely do need to have luck, but I'm a big believer that you make your own luck as well, and I feel that through just persistence and hard work. And the ways you can do that, I feel, like writing for a blog or website, various websites which are for free, and you can kind of like build your following online, build people who are reading your content, build up a resume which you can turn around to a job in the future and say, well, no, I don't have an NCTJ, but I'd love to be in your job or an apprenticeship, because here's my ambition and here's an example. So that's one way I'd say, and things like this, what you're doing now is like interviewing practice. This is like phenomenal for like your CV, and like that's gonna fine tune you as a journalist as well. So I've got to credit you for that 100%. And if you want to get on the PA training course, 100% do it. 100% do it. I mean, if you can get like a job or an experience before, and then that doesn't mean you can't do the course still. I feel there was a few people who had worked at like papers or whatnot before they did the course, but the course, what that's going to do is that going to give you a fantastic opportunity firstly to build some contacts, especially at PA. I think a few people got work experience through the course, but also, like you and I touched upon, Conor, you're going to build so much momentum and learn so much as a journalist, which is relevant if you want to get good jobs. And I feel if you do the course, it will open your eyes quite a lot, 100%, to those thinking you don't need it and it'll be fine. Yeah, don't get me wrong, like some people for sure get lucky, but you learn so much in those 4 months than I have done in a lifetime of wanting to do this. So no, 100% do the course. It's a good investment. Well, although it's slightly different because obviously my course was paid for. It's probably more for someone like Joe who answered it the last time you talked to him. But for me anyway, and the observations I made to myself and to other people I was close to, the course is invaluable. I can't recommend it more. It's going to help you get a job there eventually as well, hopefully one day.
For sure. Well, yeah, and obviously, thank you again, Reuben, for taking the time to chat today. And I hope anyone who's watching or listening finds this useful, whether you're starting out or whether you're someone who's already in the industry and you just kind of find it interesting to hear other people's perspectives. But yeah, cheers again, Reuben. Best of luck with everything going forward. I'm sure you'll do great things.
Thank you, Conor. Thank you for having me on, mate. And it's finally good to see you again. We need to catch up in person as well.